Welcome to the Spotlight Omaha podcast. Here is your host, Jimmy Allen.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome inside the Spotlight Omaha podcast, where we take you around the city of Omaha, introduce you to local business owners, influential figures, and people who are making an impact on our community. We are brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing. Pixel Fire Marketing is a locally owned marketing firm that specializes in website design, creating social media ads, and engaging your business online. If your brand could benefit from any of that, check out pixelfiremarketing.com for more details today. Joining me inside of the Pyramid Contractor Studios, Neil Watson with the Nebraska Lottery. Neil, thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Listen, I think everybody, when they think this time of year around the holidays, we think the Nebraska Lottery. We see holiday scratch-off tickets, trucks and bucks, things like that. What is exactly Nebraska Lottery's end goal with the fun gaming experience you guys provide?
You know, our goal is always to support good causes across Nebraska, and we do that by selling scratch and lotto tickets. And we've actually achieved a really significant milestone. At the end of September, we passed $1 billion in money back to our state for good causes.
Can you tell us what some of those causes are that you guys have been benefiting over almost over 30 years, correct?
Sure. Yeah. So when you spend money on a lottery ticket, about 25% of that goes to our beneficiary funds. The main areas that we support are the environment and education. We also support the Nebraska State Fair and compulsive gamblers assistance.
And that's one of the things that's become kind of a more popular topic, obviously, with Warhorse being added to the state of Nebraska and casino gaming growing and sports betting growing across the United States. What are some of the ways that you guys are making sure people are having fun and doing it responsibly?
Yeah, actually last year we achieved our World Lottery Association Level 2 for responsible gaming. And so that means that we set out a plan and outline for how we're going to structure our responsible gaming activities. We've developed a new tagline called Know Your Limit. Sure. And we have a website that it talks about when you play lottery games or any form of gambling anyway, it's important to set limits. So you're setting limits on your time. You're setting limits on the amount of money that you're spending. And once you reach your limits, you should stop playing.
Well, when you guys have the different options that you have, from Mega Millions to Scratch Offs to Lotto America, Pick 5, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, how do you guys decide on new games and new attractions and new tickets and new hobbies, things like that?
Sure. It all just kind of depends on what we think fits into our product lineup. So our most recent Lotto game was Lotto America, and we launched that back in May, I believe.
Yeah, it says May, yep.
Yeah, and it just it seemed like something that would fit in really well with our existing lineup of games. It's something that neighboring states have, and so we got a lot of players that asked us when we were going to join the game. So it seemed like it was a good fit. So we really always want to see, when we're adding a game, we want to make sure that it's something that it adds to our existing lineup. It doesn't cannibalize sales from any other games.
Sure.
And it's something that our players definitely want to play.
When we talk about trust, I think Nebraska Lottery is a brand that's been around for such a long time. There's built-in trust there. But there's an increase of scams happening with lotteries and things like that. What is Nebraska Lottery doing to kind of help prevent things that aren't being represented by Nebraska Lottery looking like they are?
Yeah, and it's very difficult. I mean, especially over the past couple of years with the rise of social media and the internet, we see a lot of scams where, social media sites can actually steal our logo when they've impersonated us. We've had that happen before. But we put information on our website. One of the important things when you talk about lottery scams is usually they will ask you for money to claim a prize, which is something a legitimate lottery would never do.
Right, because you've already spent the money to win.
Exactly. Right. It's like there's never a cost to claim a lottery prize ever. And we also wouldn't ask you for personal information or banking information. And the other big thing is you can't win a lottery prize if you didn't, buy
Purchase
a ticket.
A lottery ticket.
Yeah. So if someone calls or texts you and says, "Hey, you won the Mega Millions jackpot," you need to remember it's like if you didn't buy a ticket, then that is someone that's trying to scam you.
You're usually not calling that person either, correct?
Yeah, the only times that we would actually call someone would be if you entered like a promotion to our website, and then we would contact you that way. But just a lotto game, like we wouldn't be calling you
because you would have no way of knowing who it is, correct?
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. When you buy a ticket, we don't ask your name and address or phone number.
It's just an exchange at the desk, right?
Yeah.
We have obviously two major holidays coming up with Thanksgiving and then the December holidays. Nebraska Lottery is kind of famous for your guys' holiday themed scratch offs, and I think about Easy Mummy and things like that. Yeah. don't know if busy time is there. Are the holiday seasons the busier time of year for the Nebraska Lottery?
Actually, it's not as busy as far as the traffic or ethics claims we get. We get more people that come in after the holidays, so like in January, because they get tickets as gifts and then they win and then they come to redeem them. But we do, the holidays are a special time for us. We always have a series of holiday games. So right now we have our Lucky Star family. They've been out for a couple weeks now. And then we also have our Yuletide Ride promotion where you can enter any non-winning Lucky Star ticket on our website. And we're giving away a new Ford Bronco this year.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Where does that partnership come from, and why was the Bronco the right choice?
Well, we have wanted to give away a Bronco for several years now. It just seems like a very popular vehicle.
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
Yeah. And, we've had a good partnership with Ford and our local Ford dealers with Trucks and Bucks. And when they announced the Bronco a couple of years ago, we thought we wanted to do something with it. And originally we were looking at doing a scratch ticket with it to kind of counter program when Trucks isn't on to have something with the Bronco. But the first couple of years, it was very hard to get a Bronco because of the supply.
Yeah, they're very popular. Yeah, absolutely.
So this was the first time we'd been able to get one, and we just decided, well, let's do it for the holiday because we've done vehicle giveaways for holiday promotions before.
We opened up the show talking about the benefits and the groups that you guys benefit across the state of Nebraska, and one of those is the Nebraska State Fair. What does that partnership look like, and why is the Nebraska State Fair the right partner for the Nebraska Lottery?
Well, the Nebraska State Fair, they were added as one of our beneficiary funds in 2004 when the Constitution was last amended. So they get 10% of lottery proceeds, and they use that for, basically for maintenance and upgrades for fair facilities. And so that money is
it's an older venue down there. Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's obviously ongoing maintenance that has to happen. It's a big event. There's a lot of things that happening. And, like I said, that's written into the Constitution. Separately, we have a sponsorship with the State Fair. I believe we've been there probably every year since 1983 when we started.
Sure.
So we go out there, we bring our trailers, and people like coming every year to see us and buy their tickets and spin the big wheel. So it's a great partnership for us, and it's only expanded over the years with the lottery proceeds.
Well, time's an interesting thing because obviously you've been with the Nebraska Lottery for 18 years. What is something that you've seen change for the better in your time with the Nebraska Lottery that you're proud of?
Well, one of the things that I remember was we've significantly increased the amount of money that we've given to our beneficiaries, and that's come through some legislative changes. So originally, back in 1993, when the lottery was started, the percentage for the lottery beneficiary funds was a set 25%. So that was good, but that meant every time that we increased our sales, we still had to increase that amount of money that went back to the beneficiaries.
Right.
We had the hold harmless legislation that was put in, I believe, in the early 2000s, and that kind of changed that percentage. So it was, instead of a fixed 25%, it can vary between 22 and 25% or more. But it also had built-in safeguards to say the beneficiaries wouldn't get any less than, I believe, $20.2 million, which was the most we had ever transferred at that time.
Right. Does that make it easier or more difficult to? Because obviously you guys want to be able to give back. You want to be able to help. You got a business to run too, right?
Yeah.
So does that and the balance and the wiggle room that you have there make it easier or more difficult to kind of run your day-to-day operations?
Yeah. What it did was it gave us a little bit more. The ability to do things like, we used to have only two top prizes in our scratch games. Once a hold harmless went in place, we were able to put in three, which means that they're spread out a little bit more. It means the games have a longer life, because when there were two, like we had a top prize that was one at the beginning of the game, and then people would stop playing.
Yeah.
And, so we were able to do that with the hold harmless. We were able to increase retailer commissions, so that helps us, attract new retailer partners. And then overall, we've been able to increase the amount of money that we've given to the beneficiaries. So while they're getting a smaller percentage, we've been able to increase sales. So they're getting more money than they ever were before. And we've had some record transfers in the past 2 years.
Do you have a personal favorite? I know you're not supposed to pick your favorites, but everybody's got a special place in their heart for certain charities and donations. Do you have a favorite one that you guys are involved with?
Well, my personal favorite is the Nebraska Environmental Trust.
Because?
Because I used to work there.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, that one's an easy one. Then.
Yeah, so that was.
Well, I guess not really. Not everybody loves their previous employer.
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, it's a great program. So they're running a needs-based grant program. So they ask, for applications every year, and there's federal and state agencies, local nonprofits that if you have a good idea for improving the environment in Nebraska.
Sure.
You can apply and you might be able to get a grant.
And clearly, agriculture and environment is very important to this state for several reasons. And we're catching up with Neil Watson, the Nebraska Lottery, here on the Spotlight Omaha podcast, brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing inside the Pyramid Contractors studio. When we talked about it a little bit, when problem gambling is on the rise, and obviously it's more readily available than it ever has been. And the only reason I'm bringing it back up is we've got a couple people from local affiliates that have just commented already and just saying how thankful they are for what you guys do to put safe havens in place and things like that. So thank you to Michael and Sarah who have reached out, and they've just said that how great you guys do. In your role, you're obviously in the marketing side of things. You're not hands-on with everything, but how much would you say, like from a time standpoint, is spent on making sure that people are safe and are doing this responsibly? And has that increased over the years?
It definitely has increased, and that's one of the things I've actually been pushing for over the past couple of years.
Sure.
Like I said, getting our WLA certification, that was a really big thing.
Can you?
For us.
What's a WLA?
It's the World Lottery Association.
Okay.
So basically, it's an industry group, but they sent certain guidelines, and they have this whole responsible gaming certification program. They have 4 levels, so we're at level 2, and we have a lot of ways to go. But
sure.
I think it's more of a when we applied to AA. It was a commitment that we made, that we said, we are going to improve our responsible gaming program. We're going to build up our relationships with our stakeholders, and make sure that we're communicating that we want people to have fun and play our games, but also play responsibly. And so, it's obviously a challenge. We are a relatively small lottery. We don't have a giant staff. We have 23 people, really. And
wow, that's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's one of those things that it's going to take us some time to develop, but it's definitely going to be on a roadmap to make sure that we are improving our responsible gaming, because we want everyone to have fun while they're playing our games, but make sure that they're playing responsibly.
Is it difficult to kind of navigate those waters? Because, I mean, we've talked about the environmental stuff that you guys give back to in the state fair, but you guys also do a lot for education, too, and you're involved with helping young people. Is it tough to have a product that's designed for 18 and older, give back to the environment, help the state fair, be in elementary schools, but also have to say, hey, this is something that can be dangerous if you can't control it. Is that tough to navigate? There
are a lot of, you would say, competing messages at times.
Sure.
And we have
everybody's got an agenda, right?
Yeah. I mean, when we have an advertising guidelines that we say, this is the language that we're going to use when we're marketing, then we want to avoid certain phrases that would be triggers for compulsive gambling. But and sometimes it's just a matter of making sure that everyone's aware, everyone has buy-in, and is fully involved in the process. So we can't just say, we weren't aware of this. We want to make sure that we have really good partnerships with our stakeholders, and especially the Gamblers Assistance Program, which is one of our beneficiaries. They helped us develop our website and our tagline, the Know Your Limits. And so that's really a great resource, because like myself, I don't know everything about responsible gambling.
Sure,
I really have.
And it's
to
different for everybody, but his journey is different. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and so I would say one of the great things about our organization is we're very open. We're able to have those discussions and about messaging or how we want to run our business, and I don't think that there's any mandate or closed-mindedness. It's like, if someone has a good idea and think it's going to make a difference in our business, let's do it.
Well, and that's got to be part of it too, because obviously we could talk about the negatives for a long time, but it's fun, right? That's what it's gaming. It's a game. It's a design to be fun, and there just happens to be cash prizes at the end. What's your favorite part about being a part of the Nebraska Lottery?
I love meeting winners when they come to the office. Yeah. So, if you win a prize of $20,000 or more, you have to come to lottery headquarters in Lincoln. And
got some paperwork to fill out.
Yeah, got some paperwork to fill out. But then we also give you the big check. We take pictures. We've got a winner's lounge that we bring winners into, and we kind of, make it a fun experience. And it's always just great to talk to winners. Sometimes some of them can be a little nervous. Other times, some of them are just so excited to be there.
Some people take their shirt off, put a cowboy hat on.
Yes.
I want to ask about that because I think that's really interesting because we've all seen like the movies where the main actor wins the lottery and doesn't want to tell his family. And there's memes all over the internet. If I win the lottery, nobody will know. There'll be signs and things like that. How reluctant are people usually to taking those photos, or is it usually they're just so happy that they're like, give me the check, give me the camera?
It really comes in cycles. And I think it depends on if we've had big winners recently or if they've seen big winners in the news.
Sure.
Then following, we might see a lot of people that say, I'm not interested in publicity. But one of the big things that we've had in the past year is we have a winner anonymity law that went in effect in July 19th, I believe.
Okay.
So any prize of $250,000 or more, they're automatically anonymous unless we get written permission.
Sure.
So that has kind of changed some aspects of the way that we do winner awareness because really we have a law that says that I'm not allowed to release that if I don't get any permission. And so you have to really be careful when winners of that size come in. So, and one of the things that we do, if people are a little bit skittish about publicity, we can always say.
Not everybody's comfortable in front of a camera either. Sometimes it's not because they don't want people to know. It's just they may not feel, as comfortable as other people just getting their picture taken.
Absolutely.
Do you have a favorite story from a winner?
Oh, gosh, there's been so many. Just recently we gave away one of our trucks, the 2023 Trucks and Bucks scratch game. Sure. We had a truck that no one claimed it. Like the games was on sale for over a year and we sold all the tickets and just nobody claimed this truck. And so we eventually had to close it, wait 6 months until the beginning of September. Nobody came in with a ticket. And then we gave away a second promotion to give that remaining 2023 truck away. And the winner, she was from Grand Island, bought it at a local Casey's, always stops by in the morning to get her coffee, get her scratch tickets.
Sure.
And so, it's so great when you come out, you get to those events with the truck winners. We try to bring out the truck actually to them, to the store that sold the ticket and do like a big event. And it's just great to come out and, speak to the winners, get their stories, talk to their family, like their sons and daughters will come or grandkids. And that's just a fun time.
I have to ask about Trucks and Bucks because I think that's one of the more unique ones, because I think everybody associates money with the lottery. How do you know how that all came about and where the partnership comes from with the trucks?
Well, Trucks and Bucks has been around for almost 30 years now.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, I believe the first time we had was in 1986, so we're coming up on the 30th anniversary.
Wow.
We were one of the first lotteries to do Trucks and Bucks. We actually had the trademark on it. But I think it was just one of the things, cash prizes and vehicles. Those are the two main types of things that people want to win. And
they're usually the most expensive, right?
Yeah. And, and the great thing about the Trucks and Bucks truck prize is we pay all the state and federal tax withholding.
Oh, wow.
And then you also get a cash payment that goes to the winner to cover registration. So really, it's a free truck for that first year.
Comes with everything included, sure. And we're catching up with Niel Watson from the Nebraska Lottery here on the Spotlight Omaha podcast, brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing inside the Pyramid Contractor Studio. When we talk about 30 plus years ago in the Nebraska Lottery starting, there wasn't this thing called social media. How has social media kind of affected the way the Nebraska Lottery conducts business? And is it a benefit at all to what you guys are doing with the Nebraska Lottery?
Yeah, I remember we started our Facebook page back in 2008, I believe.
Sure.
We were one of the first lotteries to be on social media, and it's definitely changed the way that we interact with players. In the past, we used to get players would call us with questions or email. Now we get a lot more social interaction, people asking, sending us private messaging or commenting on our posts. So it's great. We're able to get a lot of information from those players and listen to what they're telling us. And, because, at the end of the day, we want to design products that players are interested in buying.
Right.
And I think that social media connection and that community that you build allows you to get that information from people.
You went to high school in Papillion. You live in Lincoln. What does it mean to you to be able to work for a company that represents where you live?
Working for the Nebraska Lottery, it's a great job. I love it, and it's so fulfilling for me to work for the state of Nebraska, to be able to make a difference. I did mention that I work for the Nebraska Environmental Trust, and I think one of the best stories I have from working in the Environmental Trust was in 2006. We had a $365 million Powerball jackpot at the time, the world's largest at that time. And of course, when we have a jackpot of that size, that means we're selling more tickets.
Yep.
More money is coming in, and that was February of 2006. So they were in the middle of the Environmental Trust's grant process at the time, and the projection just kept on going up and up, and they ended up having over $1 million extra for that grant cycle.
Wow.
And so that means,
that's like quadruple what it normally is, right?
Well, it's just a little bit extra on the top there.
Sure, yeah.
But because the way that the system works, it's a ranked process, so every grant gets evaluated and they have a ranking.
Yeah.
When you have more money, you are able to go down the list and you're able to fund more projects.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the most fulfilling thing for me, to say that, the work that we do with the environment, with the lottery, and the money that we're providing is providing real benefits all across Nebraska.
Absolutely. And there's, we talked about the educational portion, the environmental portion, the problem gambling. Is there anything that you guys, I don't want you to give away anything if you can't, but I mean, is there anything that you guys have in the works, or maybe some programs that you're thinking about working with or would like to work with in the future?
Not really. I mean, one of the things to remember with us is that we're a funding source.
Yeah,
so
sure.
we're not determining where that money goes.
It's determined for you, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's built into the Constitution.
Is that tough?
It is a little difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things, again, we're not determining where the money goes. So we're not determining with the Environmental Trust.
I guess that kind of makes it a little easier, though, too. It's at certain points. But when you're putting in the work and you're developing the games and you're helping people, I got to imagine you probably have a couple of charities or things in your life that you'd go, we could really help over here. But obviously, if it's legislation, not much you can do about that.
Yeah, I mean, occasionally we get comments from people that say, well, could you develop a game that will, help veterans? And we're like, well, we really can't. Those funds are spoken for. And,
sure.
And so, obviously.
And not by you guys.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, and that becomes a challenge. The education portion is also very challenging because it goes for a variety of different things.
Yeah.
So, and those priorities change every 5 years.
And as it should, because things are changing. More schools are being built, the cities expanding, et cetera.
Yeah.
We talked about this a little bit. And one of the things that I've kind of noticed from this room is I think in business, everybody's got this dog-eat-dog mentality, and it's everybody's out for themselves. But the one thing I've kind of learned in here with business owners and entrepreneurs is that's not really the case. I think everybody, for the majority, feels like, hey, there's enough to go around for everybody, right? And we talked about the addition of Warhorse to the city of Omaha and city of Lincoln, and the casinos coming to the state of Nebraska. Does the Nebraska Lottery look at that as competition, or is it, hey, just a brother from another mother type thing?
I mean, it is competition.
Sure. Okay.
But I think one of the things that we look at is, I think casinos in particular is it's a different experience.
I agree.
It's more of you're coming there. You're going to the casino. It's an attraction in itself.
Yep.
So there's obviously going to be some sort of impact on lottery sales. We know that. We've kind of anticipated that based on what we saw when casinos went in Council Bluffs.
Yeah.
And we saw traffic go from Omaha across the river. But I think definitely the market's going to change. It's going to stabilize. Right now, we're kind of in the early days of that. And
is it noticeable?
It's not something that we can specifically point to and say, yes, we're seeing significant decreases in this area. Obviously, because casinos are not everywhere.
Right.
They're in certain communities, not everywhere in Nebraska. I think one of the things we are looking at more is skill games, which is another form that's really taken off in the past couple of years. And those
for anybody that may not know, will you tell us what those are?
They're skill games. I think sometimes they call them bank shot, but they're essentially video terminals.
Yeah.
But they're
occasionally see them at gas stations, bars, things like that.
Yeah. So those are actually in our retailers. And so those are one that, are something that we're looking at. We're kind of keeping track of because, they offer the same type of experience, that instant win experience when you're talking about scratch tickets. And they're located in our lottery retailers.
You're already there.
Yeah. So, that could be an impact.
That's an interesting dynamic that I didn't think about, is the retailer portion of it, because I think everybody just assumes, oh, it's a gas station, they must have scratch-off tickets. We've seen kind of Mega Saver explode in the Omaha area, and we've seen 7-Eleven turn to Come and Go to BP.
Sure.
There's often changes. Like, what does that relationship look and sound like when a new gas station or retailer is coming into the Nebraska area with you guys?
Yeah, I would say our retailer network is pretty consistent from year to year. We usually have about 1,200 retailers, and that doesn't change a lot. But, there are obviously change of ownerships that happen all the time. We always try to make sure that we maintain that relationship with our retailers, that we have that, we make them understand that they're part of this. They're helping us to build a better Nebraska by selling our products.
Right.
We obviously try to provide certain incentives, like our retailer commissions for selling tickets and redeeming them. So
we've seen massive growth in this. I think Forbes rated us as the 5th fastest growing city in the country in Omaha, with obviously the expansion of Gretna, the expansion of Elkhorn, the money that's going into North Omaha, South Omaha, expanding even closer to Plattsmouth. How has Nebraska Lottery kind of been affected by this growth in a positive, and if there's any negatives?
I don't think we've really seen any significant changes, but wherever there are retailers that could potentially be sell our products, we'll definitely be investigating that and try to grow our network. I will say, we're pretty consistent around 1,200. Some retailers drop off, more come on, but any business can technically sell lottery tickets.
Sure.
You can't just have a business that sells only lottery tickets.
Right.
You have to be in a business that does something else, and you can sell our product in addition to what you're already doing.
And we kind of touched on this with the beneficiaries, but when we talk about serving Nebraska, that's Omaha to Scottsbluff and everywhere in between. Mm-hmm. What are some of the biggest differences in the way you guys conduct business on the east side of Nebraska versus the west side?
I wouldn't say there's much difference, really. I mean, I think one of the perceptions that a lot of players have is that, winners are only here in Omaha or in eastern Nebraska.
There's just more people.
Yeah, it is. It's a population thing, but that doesn't necessarily mean that people in other parts of the state are being disadvantaged or don't have an opportunity to win. I mean, we just had a winner on a scratch ticket from Chapel last week. So
congratulations to them.
Yeah. So, I think we try to keep our business practices the same no matter where we are, and we keep everything consistent.
Yeah. Obviously, we just came off of an election. Do you guys see a major change in the way you're able to do business in election years or out of election years, things like that?
I think the only thing that we see in terms of election years is our advertising.
It gets pushed a little back a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. Sure. It's like, we're not going to be spending that amount of money during an election time.
Right.
So,
is that because you're part of the marketing team? Does that make your job a little more difficult, or is it, hey, I get a little time off here because I know I don't got to worry about ad spends?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really do anything with advertising. We have an advertising agency of record, Smith Kroger, that's here in town. I mean, I think when you have things like an election year, you just kind of have to kind of reevaluate and change your marketing a little bit.
Yeah.
So television is not going to be something that you're going to do in October or November of an election year. So you might be able to redirect those dollars to different projects.
What's your personal favorite part about what you get to do?
It's so great just to talk to players all the time. You get so many insights from them. It's so great. You get a lot of energy from them. When you talk to them and they're excited to play the lottery or to tell you about things that they've won. I mean, it's such a fun job.
Yeah,
for that reason. It's like and the fact that we're doing good things, that we're generating funds, for very important work across Nebraska. That's just the best.
We're hitting that part of the day where we tend to shut it down. Is there anything about Nebraska Lottery we haven't told our listeners that you'd like people to know?
Like I said, we've been around for 30 years now, and we've had $1 billion back to our beneficiaries, and we're hoping for another $1 billion. So.
Sure. Check out the Nebraska Lottery website, scrolling across the bottom of your screen right now, nelottery.com. Neil, I really appreciate your time. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We'll be back at 11 tomorrow talking to a landscaper in the city of Omaha that is taking on a new business venture as well. We hope you can join us tomorrow at 11 here on the Spotlight Omaha podcast, brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing inside the Pyramid Contractor Studio.